Welcome to the midnight tide, where shadows whisper, darkness hides. We're diving deep into the unknown, on a journey you're not alone. From haunted halls to specters lost, we'll guide you through the eerie frost, with tales that chill and spirits roam. A freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tones, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Welcome to the midnight tide, where shadows whisper, darkness hides. We're diving deep into the unknown, on a journey you're not alone. From haunted halls to specters lost, we'll guide you through the eerie frost, with tales that chill and spirits roam. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show.
The engine is starting up. 3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is Rift Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
What is up, freaks? How are you doing?
Hey, Brian.
How are you?
It's been a strange week, but it's all good.
Well, first, I welcome everyone to the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, and I have to read this stuff. I don't know where we are. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Really? We're on Facebook since when?
When did we start that?
This is Book of Faces you speak of. What's going on?
The faces of book. What?
What? I have no idea. So, we got this puppy. I'm gonna call it Angie's puppy because it's making me mad. If it's cute, it's my dog. But since he's doing stuff that's pissing me off, it's Angie's dog. Her cousin got it. Found it on the side of the road. Her and 3 other dogs, right? 3 other dogs found them on the side of the road. One of the dogs passed away, which is sad. Yeah. And we took Luna with us, brought her home. She lived in a trailer park, right?
Right.
There were a bunch of cats around the trailer park. So they never took the dog out to pee or poop the whole time they had her. So now the dog is pad trained. So I will take her out for 30 minutes. She'll do everything but use the bathroom. As soon as she comes back inside, it's like maybe a minute later, she pees on the floor. Or she'll pee like earlier. She took a crap in this living room area where I am right now. And I don't mean to be mad and bring people down because I realize this is National Town Hall Meeting Day.
Well, this is a town hall. We're having a town hall.
We have a town hall meeting
about puppy training.
About my dog crapping all over the house. She took a dump and I could not find it. I swear, I literally just found it in the kitchen, nowhere near a pad. And I'm like, what is that smell? I knew there was a crap somewhere. I'm like, I'm gonna be smelling crap all night long. She took a dump in the room last night, like 4 o'clock in the morning. I could still smell it in my nose all day. Because all I was smelling was dog crap. And again, I'm not trying to be a downer on National Town Hall Meeting Day, which realize is an important holiday for people. But
we're just conducting a town hall. Puppy training is not for the weak. It's not.
It is, man. I mean, she starts sniffing, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna sniff. No, then she starts eating whatever. I don't know what she's eating. She's eating other dogs. I don't know. It's frustrating. Again,
yeah,
I mean,
I've got some ideas of things that can help with that. It'll get better. It'll get better. She's still getting settled,
Yeah, I know.
So,
I mean, she's a really cute dog.
Yeah, she'll get there. She'll get there.
Peeing and pooping all over the house. That is not cute. And again, guys, I'm sorry. I realize it's National Town Hall Meeting Day, and I don't be like a Scrooge on Town Hall Meeting Day, but sometimes you got to get stuff off your chest. And of course, it is National Pound Cake Day as well. Again, don't want to be a downer. Pound Cake Day.
Okay.
Which I realize you can have a town hall meeting about pound cakes. I know there are a lot of people who love having town hall meetings. And this is your day to celebrate the goodness of town hall meetings while eating a pound cake. So
That's what it was. The puppy was leaving you a pound of cake.
yes, a cake that I don't want. I don't want any doggy fudge brownies or whatever. No. Thank you. Can you do me a favor and show some love to the people in chat, and then give some cards, please?
Yeah, so I will say hello to Michelle Wilfong, Keith Ottersberg. Thanks for sharing us out. If you get a chance, pop back on. Mr. Howie Odell, Kristen Coleman, Shonda Brooks, Ronnie Anderson. Ronnie says, my little father,
yes, Ronnie.
Take him out and he comes in and drops a deuce.
Yes. I'm glad you feel my pain.
They have a mind. I mean, mine are trained and they will still every once in a while throw me for a loop. And it's usually like, it's my fault because I know we're near time and like a meeting at work or something, because I work from home. It's over and I'm kind of looking at the time going, oh gosh. And I can hear them at the door. They're ready to go. And then all of a sudden I smell it. And I'm like, oh my God.
At least they give you a warning.
I got to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's see what the cards say. Give it another shuffle here. All right.
Paul Fowler, what's up? Kristen Coleman, Robert White's in the house.
Nice.
Howie the Hitman Odell is in the house tonight.
All right, let's see what we got. All right. So we got this guy here, the King of Swords, and I may pull another card off the top to see what direction that goes, because that to me is all about not taking any crap from anyone, being very smart about your movements and the things that you're planning to do, but also kind of not taking crap off of anybody and cutting through the BS. Okay.
Does that include dogs as well?
Yeah, cutting through the crap. And then we got the Emperor along with that. So see, these are two guys that are kind of polar opposites. The King of Swords, he's very much a leader. He's in charge. He knows what he wants. He knows how to get there. He's not going to put up with any BS. If you try to throw it at him, he's going to call you out on it right away. He could be your, best friend, but your worst enemy if you cross him. But then you've got the Emperor, who is a lot more level-headed, and he kind of, I'd say with this, he can be the guy with the swords. He can be kind of uncaring and unthinking, and he doesn't really think about people's feelings and things. He's just worried about what needs to happen. So I feel like with this Emperor coming out behind that, and I'm just going to tap in, there's something, and not to go in a whole like astrology thing, but Neptune has got some stuff going on this week. My friend that's an astrologer sent me some stuff, and everybody's kind of up in arms this week. People's tempers are flaring. I'm noticing that people aren't kind of watching what they say. And I think you can I think this is kind of just a hindrance to all of us, that you can be strong and in charge and not take any BS and call people out if you need to, but there's a way to do it that's a little more tactful. So I think this is just kind of telling us this week, while the planets are doing all this crazy stuff, I think just be very careful of your words. Be very clear on how you articulate things, because you don't want people to misunderstand you, and you want to be clear and direct. But also, that doesn't mean you have to be harsh. So just think about what you say before you say it right now, because people's feelings are people are in their feelings right now, and people have short tempers anyway. So because of whatever's going on astrologically. So I'm just going to say at this point, think before you speak, and just make sure that what you're getting ready to say and how you say it comes across like you want it to, and not too harshly. And there's nothing wrong if it does come across a way, because like me, when I say something and it comes out all wrong and like sounds like I'm being a big old bee. I kind of know when it happens. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't mean for that to come out that way.
Mhm.
So, say, you know what? That came out wrong. Like, apologize up front for, like, I didn't mean that the way it sounds. I know that sounded like I was being very harsh. Let me get to the point. I didn't mean that to be as harsh as it came out. So that's my words for this week. Watch your words.
So basically, slow your roll.
Slow your roll. Think before you speak. Because
take your
everybody's
time.
already in their feelings. So you could just make matters worse and not mean to.
Freaking Neptune.
Neptune.
Mother freaking Neptune. So again, guys, if you want to learn how to live your life, come here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time and just listen to Rhonda and she'll tell you how to live your life for the week.
Yeah.
This week
This just
slow
makes
your roll.
sense with what's going. This is just wild because that totally. Before I came on, I was reading what Joni had sent out this morning, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that explains why everybody's acting crazy this week." And then that comes up, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess that's how we should react to when people act crazy towards us this week."
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of like Mercury and retrograde. First
It's
time I've heard of,
coming in
Neptune.
soon. Mercury, there's a whole bunch going. Like we're in Aries. Neptune is at like 29
Are there any
degrees.
planets that make you feel good or calm, or is it all just fucking crazy?
There's good things that are supposed to come, but this month has got a lot of eclipses and a lot of other things going on that I don't really understand. I read what she says and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. A lot of times what I read will just make sense to what I'm seeing. And the last week, people have just been people been peopling.
People have been peopling.
People have been peopling.
That is the true word. Two words had not been spoken. It's supposed to be a big storm coming tomorrow. What I heard.
Yeah. Well, it may be a little crazy around here in Virginia tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. Woo. Well, let's make this quick. Saturday night, I got to hang out with Howie.
Yeah, I heard a little about that.
The Ryan Effect. And Sean and Courtney from Hill City Paranormal, we got to do an investigation at a
very cool
private residence in Midlothian. It was a lot of fun hanging out with them, investigating. I've never investigated with Sean and Courtney before, so I really enjoyed doing that. Looking forward to hanging out with them in the future, going on future investigations. We got some good stuff, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to get much out there, but we ended up getting a lot of cool stuff, and I think the guy was very happy with our results, and I think we helped settle his nerves a little bit, and we got him some answers. We got some good EVPs, and it was a lot of fun, and so yeah, that was my adventure for the weekend. Shout out to don't forget, end of May. We have got Cabin Con at the cabin on 360, which I think he's actually going to have it in the school down the street. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun. I'm so excited. It's going to be a big old family reunion. I'm telling you, it's going to be outstanding.
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be
outstanding.
Awesome. A lot of cool teams coming out here. And so that's about it. We have the 1940s slang.
What we got?
Because I know you want to know that.
I do.
If somebody was to call you a crumb, what do you think? A crumb, like a piece of bread or something?
No, I'm just like a crumb.
Crumb. What do you think?
I have no idea, because I would never call somebody a crumb.
Okay, that was funny. We'll 10 out of 10 investigate with Ryan, aka Kenny Rogers. Thank you.
Kenny Rogers, eh?
You gotta know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. I'm the paranormal gambler.
The paranormal gambler.
The paranormal gambler. That's what they call me.
I don't feel like there's a story attached to this.
No, I mean, probably because of my beard, I would say.
So you've graduated from Santa Claus to Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, I'll be Santa Claus in December again.
I love it.
Crumb is a no fun or a jerk.
No fun or a jerk.
No fun or jerk. So if you're a crumb, stay away from me, especially on National Pound Cake Day
Right.
and
No
National
crumbs
Town
on
Hall
Pound
Meeting
Cake
Day.
Day.
Yes, we don't want to do that. So we have a special guest on tonight.
Yes, this is so cool.
Yeah, we're going to step away from the paranormal. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe she has some experiences to talk about. Funny story. Not really funny, but interesting. So I met Alexis at the Fleetwood Paracon.
Yep.
Last October. Invited her to come on the show. And tell me what she does. She's a death doula. And my daughter's grandmother on my ex-wife's side literally just passed away yesterday morning.
Okay.
So it's just interesting coincidence that we're talking about this the day after my daughter's grandmother passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is funny.
It's funny how
Like that.
like things happen like this.
Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and bring on Alexis Jordyn onto the show. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, just bitching and moaning about the dog on National Town Hall Meeting Day. So you know how it is.
I just heard, what you were saying about your daughter's grandmother. So, just holding everybody close to my heart and in my prayers with that. I know that can be tough sometimes.
It's hard. But what she sees what I do in the paranormal, and I think it may help her deal with the thought of dying,
Yeah.
knowing that that it isn't the end, but it's just a new beginning for the person. But for the people who don't, deal in the stuff that we deal with, how do you deal with those people? Like, how do you comfort them to make them see that this is not the end?
Well, the first thing is that you can't ever give meaning to a death for somebody, right? So I can't tell you why this happened, or, try to find meaning in that. That is for the individual. But believe it or not, I'm at the cemetery office right now, the cemetery that I work at, so hence the memorials in the background. But 9 out of 10 people will share with me, especially after, if it's an at-need appointment, they'll share with me an experience of their loved one coming back. So it's just a little taboo for them to talk about in some communities.
Yeah.
So it's more of asking what they believe and kind of going from there to see where the conversation goes, instead of putting your beliefs onto somebody else's experience.
Yeah, I guess on like a case-by-case basis on
Oh,
how
absolutely.
to handle the situation.
Yeah, every death is as unique as that person, and every loss is, as unique to that person, or, that family. It just affects everybody so differently. So there's no real way to answer that question. But it's definitely an interesting experience, to be there to help, guide the families through the loss.
So yeah, until a couple of years ago, I'd heard of a birth doula. I had not heard of a death doula. And when I first realized that such a position existed, I was like, well, that makes sense. There's someone to bring in a life and someone to help the life as it goes. How long have you been a death doula? And for the people who are not familiar with what one is, what are your responsibilities and what do you do?
So, well, actually, how I got into death dueling is actually my experience in the paranormal field. So it kind of just led me into it. It was very natural for me. I went to school originally to be a funeral director, and I just didn't really like that. So then I went to school for grief and bereavement counseling, and that's how I ended up here at the cemetery. But I've been a death doula for 2 years now. And what a death doula is, it's a companion, it's a guide that provides holistic care and support to the dying and their families. So I can work alongside a hospice nurse, but I am in no way licensed or certified to be able to give any type of medical attention. So it's a lot of just, you know, the planning experience, you know, what to expect and talking and guiding them through it. And, you know, if they opt for a home funeral, getting them used to the laws in their state, you know, different things like that.
And that's interesting too, because I did not really realize anyway that people still do at home services.
A lot of people are actually getting back to it.
That was such a, you know, something you heard of a long time ago, not so much now. So that's really interesting. I mean, are you seeing it a lot more? And what do you think that shift is?
Well, I think the shift, I think it has a lot to do with a lot of the traditions around death care are really like antiquated. You know, if we think back to like the Victorian times and, you know, even the Civil War, because that's where embalming really started, was to get those bodies back. So I think the shift just came from everybody kind of realizing that there's a disconnect there and not being afraid to embrace the unknown, because the more that we learn, the less that we fear. So, and it's very natural to want to care for our loved ones, just as it's very natural to want to be around a woman giving birth, right? And support her through that and support the father and the family through that. It's just as important to have the community involved when a soul is exiting Earth also. So I feel like it was just like, you know, with how you were talking about everything that goes on in the ether and like astrologically, I feel like there's just been this huge shift to get back to the roots, and death and dying is very like ingrained in us and wanting to be there for one another. So I think it's a lot of different things. And just everything, honestly, getting so expensive.
It's a shocking when you have to plan a funeral, how expensive it is.
Yeah.
So,
hey, yeah, I always bump into her in strange places. Hey, girl. Yeah.
She definitely recommended you. She said you were awesome. So
I love
shout
her.
out to Kristen and her show, Uncharted Realms, live here every Friday night at 9:00 p.m. You don't want to miss that. So when a family needs a death doula, how do they request you, or are you assigned to them? How do you get? Does every family have one, or is it just something you ask for?
Well, so here in Virginia, I know that there's a couple facilities. Like there's one out in Richmond. I haven't like met with them or anything, but it's pretty much, you know, independent, and they look for it. Like here at the cemetery, I offer the services here to the families, and so on my end, hey Pam, oh, I love you. So on my end, it's, you know, working with the families from pre-planning, which I highly, highly recommend, because you can't give a better gift than clarity, you know. So especially during that time, I mean, the families can't even process what happened, even if it's an anticipated death. I mean, up to 6 months to a year later, the grieving brain cannot process it. So they're thrown all of these decisions. And so it's how I do my death doula work right now is through the cemetery. So
how do you handle like a sudden death, as far as like comforting the family and stuff of that nature?
Well, the first thing that you have to understand with anybody's position in death care is that you can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that you can do, and there's nothing that you can say that will take this pain away. And so you just have to be there as a guide, and that's it. So sometimes that looks like very direct conversations. Other times, you know, it's just a case by case basis. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine.
Well, I think the hardest part for anyone, like going back to the words you can't fix it, is knowing the right words to say to people when someone passes away. And I think that bears down a lot of people, because they're always like, I don't know what to say to make them feel better. What advice would you give to someone like that who they want to make them feel better, but there's no actual way to do that?
So when I was in school for grief and bereavement, I took a class on death and dying, and my professor was a hospital chaplain for 30 years at a children's hospital. So she saw so much, as you can imagine. And what she told me, I'll never forget. She said, do everything with love until love does all that it can do. So it's not about what you say. It's about the actions, and it's about the support. And, you know, some people, you know, they're like, oh, let me know if you need anything. 9 times out of 10, they're not good. They don't even know.
Right.
They don't even know. So food is, you know, dropping something off, or like gift cards. That's absolutely, you know, that's great. But also like paper, like paper plates, cups, you know, the last thing anybody wants to worry about are dishes.
Right.
And, you know, so that's another way that a death doula can help. Also with like post-death organization of a home, you know, facilitating services with the, you know, the crematory or funeral home. I mean, there's just so much.
I know when my father was in hospice, I wish they had at least in this area more, because there's not a lot of death doulas, at least that I'm familiar with. And I wish more hospitals and hospice groups offered that, because basically, you know, the hospice nurses talked to me. They told me it was going to, and they gave me this book, which was a great book, but it goes through the stages of dying and what happens, what to look for, and if this is happening and this is happening, like what stage, like how much longer they might have. Well, that freaked me out more than anything, because I felt like I spent the last couple months just looking and dissecting every little thing that was going, and I had nobody to ask. You know what I mean? Except they were hospice nurses, so they were all over the place. You could catch them if you had a question or you noticed something, but other than that, I was waiting on them, and I almost drove myself a little crazy reading that book and having no one to give me guidance. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I remember, you know, I think I was like 17 and with my uncle on life support in the ICU, you know, and just my family and everybody just trying to figure out what was going on, because there's like this, when we don't have control over something, it makes us panic, you know, like we can't fix it and we want to fix our loved one. And the lack of education on what the dying body does and how it's the most natural thing in the world. It looks uncomfortable. It can sound uncomfortable. So we take that as it is uncomfortable, but it's just the body relaxing into itself. And so it can be really hard. Yeah.
So does your like dealing in death, as far as like different religions, is it purely Christian, or what have you dealt with other religions as far as people dying and stuff like that?
Well, so right now, the majority of my work, like I said, is on the cemetery side of things. So we're a non-denominational cemetery. So, I mean, I've worked with so many denominations. The majority of it has been Christian, but the other religions, like Muslim religions, you know, for example, they do a lot of postmortem care of the body. Mm-hmm. So, you know, those are kind of, they death doula very naturally, right? Like that's just, you know, auntie's death doula, sister's death doula, you know, it's a part of their culture. So there's not necessarily, I'm not saying there's not a need for it, but it's just so natural for a lot of other cultures.
Probably a lot different than here, because I know some of the caregivers my dad had, they had actually brought in, she had a certain hiring type of, I say type of person. It really wasn't a type of person. It was a nationality of people that she wanted working in her as assistants, because their culture was very much, you take care of the elderly.
Yes.
You don't.
Gotten so detached from that here.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is interesting, because I've met with a family today. This is my third time meeting with them. And this is the first time that the husband actually relaxed and allowed himself to actually be open to what was going on and to planning their memorial and, you know, answering their questions about how the cemetery, like, you know, just, you know, basic things. And because people are very guarded when it comes to this, because there's so much mystery around it, because there's just a lack of conversation. But I mean, there's like personal planning organizers that you can get. And I've got one right here, actually. And you can keep everything here. It's got like personal history, important documents, bank accounts, social security benefits, and funeral and cemetery arrangements. So you can get one of these and just keep everything here, including like the advanced care directives. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
But it's also very, if you stop to think about it, and I really loved how you opened up with the tarot, because I felt like it segued like perfectly into what we were talking about, because, you know, the King of Swords and the Emperor, it is very no nonsense. And it is very, you know, make sure everybody has the ducks in a row. And so what a beautiful way to kind of open this conversation, because, you know, we plan for everything, like how you were saying, like make sure, you know, you watch your words, you want to plan before you speak. But death is like the last thing that we like to plan for, but it's so important because it leaves everybody hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and times change, because, you know, my parents had pre-planned everything. So I really had nothing. I knew where everything needed to happen. Like, but my mother-in-law had not at one point, and she was trying to get those ducks in a row. And she's like, well, I've got, you know, I paid this much into it. And I'm like, I didn't know how to tell her that number, that monetary number, that's probably 20 years ago prices. That is not what you're dealing with right now.
Right. And life insurance is for the living.
Right.
And that's so, because that is there as such a blessing for the family to be able to support themselves throughout life, you know, and then for it to all get eaten up with funeral and cemetery costs, or, you know, cremation, because that's where the industry is heading as a whole. It's just such a shame, because those policies, a lot of them, especially if they're term, you know, they're just, boom, they're gone. Or they don't take into account the cost of, you know, material going up.
Right.
So, but that's what, I mean, here at Merchants Hope, we actually offer like in-house financing, and with like super low interest rates, because we understand, you know, I mean, before I worked, you know, before I was behind the scenes in it, of course I had an idea, but I didn't know. And so planning ahead really just allows you to lock in those rates, you know, and to have everything taken care of. And it can be really fun actually to design these things, because a well-lived life deserves a well-planned farewell. And so, I mean, we have a bell tower here, and I've played Freebird, I've played Stairway to Heaven. You know, we can get fun with it. It doesn't have to be like all doom and gloom. I mean, I designed an upright granite memorial. It says G Daddy and Nana on it. You know, like you can get crazy with stuff.
I think that's, you know, it's good that you add humor, or add, because death is such a sad thing, losing someone, but it's good for the family to remember the good times with the person.
Oh yeah.
That the sadness is there, but it'll eventually fade away.
And
but
yeah,
the memories will always be there.
And I feel like it's that loss, that sudden loss of connection, right? Because what I was taught is that this world, this plane of existence that we're on, the 3D, it's so dense, right? So it's super hard for higher vibrational frequencies like spirits or souls to get through to us, but they're still there. It's kind of like aquarium glass almost.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just changed. It's a new normal, right? So the cemetery, there's so much love here. You know, there's so much you can walk through, and you can look at a marker and find out like about that person and what they liked, because people will we've got one with a cookie jar on it. And I know that man made really good cookies for them to put that on there, you know, like there's just so much you can do. You can put pictures. I mean, and people come out here. We've got like Mr. Shirley, he sits out with his wife every day.
Oh, wow.
It's so beautiful. And, you know, just, we've got families that have created friendships here, you know, so there is light in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind
it's,
of work do you do? Like how much, and this is like after all, I would say services are completed, do you find that you have a lot of communication with the families as they are maybe saying, hey, my deceased loved one came in a dream, or like, do you get a lot of that? Do you have a lot of aftercare?
So to be honest with you, when I first started my business, like when I first did Through the Veil, I was trying to separate the paranormal or like the spiritual work that I did from the death doula work. And I realized I was just kind of futile because they're so the same for me.
See, that's where I was going with that question, is like, how
Yeah.
do you tie all, you said paranormal, so I kind of assumed spiritual. I was like, how are you tying this
Well,
in a pretty blow together?
so I think it's a very pretty bow. Some people might think it's a really weird bow, but you know, it is what it is. I haven't found anybody, how do I answer this? So I have families that I've worked with through the cemetery that I've done like spirit communications and things like that for. The gentleman that I met with today, you know, they're very upfront with their I haven't met anybody that is hesitant to talk about their spiritual beliefs. The man that I met with today, he was like, you know, I'm not going to be here, meaning that his spirit was going to be elsewhere. And so I just don't challenge that, you know, if that kind of answers your question. It just, they blend together so well because it's all about death. But while working with a family who has just gone through, you know, a traumatic loss, I don't bring it up automatically. If I believe that, and it has happened, that if it's supposed to happen, it will come, you know, naturally. So,
Yeah.
Because it's not for everybody, but the people that it's supposed to be for will know.
What you said you had a background in the paranormal. What kind of paranormal experiences, or if you had any paranormal experiences while working as a death doula?
Oh yeah,
personally.
Yeah. Funerals get very active. The cemetery itself knows, like so my fiance is the groundskeeper, and when he goes to dig the grave, the cemetery knows, you know, the energy here. It knows, especially if it's a child. It's a completely different feel. It's very still. It's very somber, but it's very still welcoming. So it's very alive. But one of my first times that I came to visit Merchant's Hope, you know, because we're right next to the oldest continuously operating Episcopal church in the United States. So the land is just so active. I mean, there's so much history here, and I learn something new about it every day. So, I mean, I can't really pick an experience, to be honest with you.
So do certain, so you said this child section is very calm. Is certain sections of the cemetery, does it change as you walk through cemetery, getting different feelings as you're walking through?
So the oldest garden that we have here is called Hope Estates, and that originally belonged to the church. There's no real like section for the children. A lot of times they're with their families. But we do have a garden called Garden of Time, and that's for our for veterans and first responders. And so that garden, it just feels very military. You know, I mean, I can't, but there's nowhere, the cemetery isn't spooky. It's not frightening. It's not anything. I mean, there's nothing but love here. Absolutely nothing but love here.
So you said it's you see a lot for the funerals. Are you just seeing like deceased loved ones like everywhere, or?
So no, it won't. It changes depending on how the spirit wishes to or is able to kind of show themselves. Because I've seen, just like how we have to learn how to drive a car, we're going to have to get used to how to operate, our energy body on the other side. So sometimes it can be a little glitchy, and not everybody is going to be able to like, boom, a full body apparition. So I've seen what looked like a little tornado of energy right by somebody's shoulder right before, I think it was an aunt went to place their hand on that shoulder. So it's almost like they were comforting them. It's an overwhelming feeling of love oftentimes, but the birds and like nature will actually respond. Like, when a prayer picks up, the wind will start to blow. I mean, it's a whole beautiful experience, and it's so hard to describe, but, or you could feel the only thing that really gives off any type of a vibe would be the hearses. The hearses sometimes feel a little heavy.
Do you think that's because of all the different people that have been in there? Like each person has his own like stuff attached to them as they're going into the hearse in such a small area inside the hearse?
I think that it has to do with a lot of things. I think that like the energetic fingerprints are very real, and I'm not sure how many how often they're used, or like, per vehicle, things like that, or, I can't imagine there's any like type of cleansing, you know what I'm saying? So it just feels heavy because they're often like,
Now, do you still paranormal investigate?
I will here and there, but I kind of got out of the paranormal field, because I felt that, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but I felt that sometimes it was more about the shock factor than anything. Because everybody wants, and it makes sense. Everybody wants to get, something on camera, but like to what cost?
Right.
So there was a few incidences where I was like, this shouldn't have happened. So I kind of got out of that, and my kids are young, so it's a little hard. I used to go like out of state, and I would get picked up without knowing where I was going until we got there, and then I would walk around without just like my handy dandy notebook and some paper, and then compare what I found to what the equipment picked up on to what the residents were saying, and kind of like put it all together.
Yeah, I was just curious, like now that you've become a death doula and you've actually studied the phases and the things to look for, how much that changed how you investigated?
Well, so the way that I was taught was kind of the same way that I carry things with death doulaing. It's like, the more that you understand, the less that you fear. And so just like how, I've been to homes where people would swear up and down that it was a demon, but that's because something that is not supposed to happen is happening, and that's freaky, and so a lack of understanding or like exposure to what all could be happening, right, creates like this huge cloud of fear. And so then it's like this vicious cycle that like feeds itself. So it's, I don't really know where I was going with that, but it's just more of like education across the board with everything.
So when you're talking with someone who is scared of death, I guess, and who's dying, how do you comfort them? How do you because it's hard to, what words do you use to help them feel more at ease with the whole process?
Honestly, it's just answering their questions. Just what about it scares you? You know, and just open-ended questions like that, and really getting to the root of it. So, and I mean, honestly, facing the reality, like, so for example, the other day I met with a family, and the gentleman kept saying, well, this is so far off, this is so far off, this is so far off. And his wife shared with me that she actually has stage 4 kidney failure or kidney disease. And so with him saying, oh, it's so far off, it's so far off, you know, that being that like gentle reminder of, but it's not, you know, we never know. I mean, I could leave the cemetery right now, you know, and, you know, it's a mile away from my house, but who knows what's going to happen there. So the reality of what we plan for, you know, like homeowners insurance and car insurance and all of these things, like we plan for what might happen, but we don't plan for what will happen. We are all going to die. We just don't know how. And there's this, I guess there's this idea or this practice in the death doula community that talks about a good death. And I think that is important, but to how you would want to die, right? But even that in itself, you can plan and plan and plan, but it might not go that way depending on what type of like medical intervention or, you know, how it works out. So just being open and like surrendering to the natural cycle of life, like not in defeat, but in acceptance, and just seeing where it goes. And asking yourself these questions, like, what do I believe or what do I want? Have you guys thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, no.
No.
A little bit. I mean, once I went through it with other people, I was like, gosh, you really do need to get it all down and have it all planned. But have I done it yet? No.
Yeah, it's such, you're talking about earlier saying that it's something that's going to happen to every one of us, but it's something that nobody wants to talk about or wants to plan for because it's so depressing.
Yeah. Well, because nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because I mean, our entire life is just like our bodies are constantly trying to find homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
And death is none of that, you know? And so I feel like for somebody who is looking to start, it's an advanced care directive is a really good place to start. And you can get the templates online, you know, and just asking yourself, okay, well, in this case, what would I want, like medically? And then kind of like lean into the other choices. But the conversation can start off as simple as like, do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? And then from there, depending on the answer, well, either way, you can do above ground or below ground for both options. Like, just what would you like?
That makes sense. I mean, I actually, you know, some of the things that even scared me when I start thinking even about an advanced directive, it's kind of like, I think just what goes into that gives people a little bit of fear, because I think most people would say, I say most, but maybe not, but, you know, I don't want to have no quality of life, but I also don't want you to do it too early until you're sure there's no quality of life. Like, you know what I mean? I think people are worried sometimes with an advanced directive that they won't be given a chance to see if they would make it through. So
the advanced directive template that I have, and if anybody wants a copy of it, just message me. I'll send you the file for it. It's so detailed. It's kind of, it's almost borderline overwhelming. So because it's not as simple of, it's not like a DNR. That's not what you're setting up. It's,
okay.
You know, if that makes sense. So it's like, there's so many different options there for like resuscitation. There's chemical resuscitation if you don't want to have somebody like pushing on your ribs, because if they're doing it right, they're going to crack them, you know? So there's different ways, and you can always change them. But there's even like a place where you can designate what hospital you want to go to, what hospitals you do not want to go to, what treatments that you consent to, you know, things like that. So even then, it's not like a this or that. They're very, very personalized.
Gotcha.
And you can even say there's a mental health section also that says, you can even designate what type of treatment facility you would like for that. If you're, something happens, or like what medications you do not want, if you tried them before. So it's really personalized.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to know that there are people out there that can help make the help answer questions, because it is such a big deal that if you try to go and do it on your own, it's just got to be so difficult. And it's good to know that there is someone like you to help people deal with that process when they're not thinking straight to begin with, because they're dealing with the other process of going through the death and stuff like that. I got a question from Kristen Coleman that, I saw earlier, but we were talking about something. Let's see here. Will you do another investigation if you were asked, or is it only when someone really needs someone with your expertise?
I want to say, of course I do, but I don't know. I guess it just depends on the circumstances surrounding the investigation. If I can't help, I like to be able to get people to somebody that can. I never want to leave anybody hanging, like when it comes to expertise or anything. But I think that, I don't know. I want to say yes, but I can't promise that.
My friend owns the Cabin on 360, which is a paranormal location here in Mechanicsville.
Oh, I'm familiar with the Cabin.
Okay. Actually, my family owns my grandfather built the cabin.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. My family actually owns it. Dennis is renting it from my family. But lots of paranormal activity out there. But during one of our investigations, we had someone drop off a prayer shawl.
Yeah.
That someone had worn as they were dying. The funny part is the actual date that they were wearing it was my birthday. I thought that was a coincidence. But what's the purpose of the death shawl, and was it worn while they were dying, or what is the point of wearing a death shawl?
Oh, like a mourning veil, or excuse me, like a funeral shroud?
Yeah, it was almost like I don't know, it looks almost like a sweater almost. It was weird. It had almost like a blanket type of material.
So I would have to see it
sewn together or something.
So a lot of times it's just like ceremonial or like cultural, like with the Victorian mourning jewelry and like the veils and things like that. But the funeral shroud itself, like with a green burial, instead of, it's just wrapping the body. But the purpose for it, I mean, I would just have to see which one it was, because they can be based in cultural practices or kind of borderline superstition almost, but it just depends. Or did you mean like the priest?
No, it was I think it was pretty sure.
Okay.
It was something that somebody wore. I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Send her a picture. That's curious.
Yeah, they bought it at an estate sale.
I was gonna say, aren't those shawls usually buried with the person? Or
so I've seen them in oddity shops and stuff like that. They're pretty cool to look at, but 9 times out of 10, they're usually buried with the person.
Oh, hope this one wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for coming on the show with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was awesome.
Very, very interesting. It was fun talking to you. It was not necessarily a fun topic for people, but I think it's good that there's someone out there like you that will help people when
Yeah,
going through
even
a
if
difficult time like that.
they're
Sure.
not a death doula, like the funeral directors will always be there to answer questions, and any death care worker should be more than happy to, answer anybody's questions and like help with the fun and funeral, because it just doesn't have to be so overwhelming and so scary. So just remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question. You don't know what you don't know. So
That's true. Yeah. And it is definitely something that people need to think about, even though it's not fun to think about.
and I'm be
we look
asking you if you thought about it. I'm gonna follow up with you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yes, I will definitely, I'll definitely think about it. That's for sure, and I'll definitely look into it for sure. Maybe you can have you back on for I don't know, a reaction video or something like that. Do a little more something,
Yeah.
You can do it.
more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Next time we have you on.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was
Awesome.
really awesome. I'm glad to get this knowledge about that, and hopefully, this is a field that will expand in this area a little bit more.
Yeah, I hope so.
Can you tell us a little bit before you go? Tell you more about Through the Veil.
Oh yeah, so that is me venturing out and being like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So that's where I offer my, services as the end of life doula, but also as a, whatever people want to call it, psychic, medium, however, and I'll do spirit communications and help facilitate cleanses, and I mean, pet doula services, you name it. So.
Oh well,
Awesome.
pet doula. That's that's a whole nother thing we could
Yeah.
talk about.
The animals love to come through, especially in a spirit communication. They are so happy to see everybody. It's so sweet.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We'll definitely have to talk about that next time we have you on.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Get home safe after you said what you said earlier. Get home safe.
Oh yeah.
And,
If
I
not, y'all know where I'll.
yeah, don't haunt me because I had you on the show.
All right.
Your fault. It's you. And as soon as I get a picture of that death shawl, I will send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much
Thank you.
All right,
coming
guys.
on. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I
that was cool.
definitely enjoyed that conversation.
Likes to go to uncharted lands to
Yeah.
get some information for the group.
Yeah. I mean, it had it's tough when you talk about something like death and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because it's not something you really necessarily want to talk about.
It's like she said, it's
Too much.
uncomfortable. Nobody likes to have the uncomfortable conversations. But
No.
unfortunately, the other thing that said was true is we will all come to that passage at some point in time.
Yeah. And eventually we'll we'll have to deal with it. And I think about death all the time. Like all the time. Not my death though.
Right.
Other people's deaths.
Right.
That part scares me, going, having to deal with losing someone. So, and that's why it's hard to think about it, because it makes it feel real.
Yeah.
But it's something that we've all got to deal with. And yeah, and she was giving some great advice. So that was fun. Next week we are doing part 2 of our Fleetwood Paracon doubleheader, because we have got Brooke Pristol, whoever I'll learn how to pronounce her name by next week. She is from Wildwood Sanitarium.
Yes.
Which I
Exciting.
believe is in New York.
Nice. I haven't been there yet, but it's on my list.
And it may be even higher on your list after you hear what she has to say about it.
I bet it will be.
We are super excited to have her on the show. But realize that March 4th through the 11th is just too long to wait.
I know.
for you to experience the awesomeness that is us. So we are going to give you a little treat. This Sunday night, we are going to do the Freakin Awesome playlist. When we are going to make an awesome playlist of early 1980s road trip songs.
Yep.
So join us on Sunday night, myself, Rhonda, and Howie, or Ed Odell, as we list off our, and Angie's going to be here too. Angie Parker's going to be here. So we're going to have a whole crew of awesomeness. We are going, oh, should we have someone from Japan in the house? What is up, Irene?
Spooky Japan podcast.
Spooky Japan podcast.
Nice
you know
to
what?
see you.
If it's not super out of the way at some point, super early. I guess it'd be super early. What time is it in Japan right now? Oh my gosh. I don't even know.
I'm not sure.
I know, like in England, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know what time it is in Japan. But if she feels up to it, sometimes if she ever wants to come on the show, join it. I mean, I swear, it's like every time I watch one of those paranormal videos, like Nuke's Top 5 or places like, every time if someone goes into like a building in an Asian country, Japan, Korea, China, it's messed up. It is messed up. Oh my gosh, man. I was like, never want to go investigating in Japan because I'd probably seriously have a bowel movement. It is noon.
She said, sure, just message me. That would be cool. And we apologize to anybody we didn't grab in the chat. But this was kind of it was hard to stop with the conversation we were having going on. So we apologize.
It
tried to grab questions if we could.
Sometimes it's easy to stop and ask questions or acknowledge people, but when someone is talking about something like what we were talking about, it's hard to deal with what other people are going through at the same time and look at the chat. So I try to put them on the board as much as I can, but it's not like we don't appreciate you guys
being here and asking questions. This one was just a hard one for us to interrupt to say hi.
Agatha was asking where there's a burial plot for cremation, that people have been cremated.
We could shoot her a message. We could shoot and get back with you on that.
Yeah. And you can go to Beyond the Veil, Through the Veil, not Beyond the Veil. That's different. Through the Veil. You can talk to her through there, ask her questions, and I'm sure she'll be happy to respond to you. So anyways, thank you, Irene, for talking to us from Japan. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And if you want to, join the Freak family, Irene, look up the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show. We're on Facebook and YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And of course, look up the Orion Effect. I think Irene may have commented on with the show I do with Howie, the What's Going Down podcast.
Yes.
She said just
message her and she'll come join us and we can talk about spooky Japan.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. It won't be until like September because that's when our next open day is, but. So for 2 freaking days, and I'm freezing cold. No, oh
wow.
Yeah, I can see why you would be cold right now.
Yikes!
Damn, it was like when the 60s today here,
yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was nice. She probably hates us for saying that right now.
It was so warm.
Oh my gosh, Irene, you're living it. We're loving it here. Actually, tomorrow is supposed to be getting a big storm, so we will see how much gloating we're going to be doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you Sunday night for the Freakin Awesome playlist. Same freaking awesome time.
Same freaking awesome show.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.